Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Just Like You. This is a quick trigger warning that this episode does talk about things like addiction and self harm. So, if those are some triggering topics for you, please keep that in mind while listening, or maybe just choose not to listen. This is a very vulnerable episode for me, and I share some things that I actually have never really spoken about out loud in public ever, other than to like two or three people maybe. So I really hope that if you guys do listen, you enjoy it and can, I don't know, I guess relate in some way because Spirit is here telling me to share this story. So it must be for a reason, right? So let's get into the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Just Like You show. I hope y'all are having the most amazing day, beautiful week. I want to talk to you guys today about something that might seem a little odd. I went to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting the other day, and you might be thinking, what the fuck? I didn't know she was an alcoholic. Spoiler alert, I'm not. I was with a friend who knew the person who ran Narcotics Anonymous over where she was living back in the States. And she used to help out and go to the meetings. And she said that once she went and actually was there, she really thoroughly enjoyed them because she loved connecting with other people and like hearing about their lives and finding different similarities. And a lot of the topic meetings where they talk about certain things, like maybe, for example, they're talking about the topic of triggers, actually resonated with her, even though she wasn't an addict. And so now being here, she was like, we should go. There's one right by where we're staying. I went last week. It was great. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll just come, not a big deal. I'm in the practice right now of saying yes to everything that comes my way. I am on this, like, we're in Costa Rica. We're living our lives. You want to come do this adventure? Yes. You want to go here? Yes. Do you want to do this? Yes. I'm yesing all the way because I'm trying to just live fully in the present and experience everything I can while I'm here. And honestly, you guys, it was one of the most beautiful experiences I have ever had in my life. And I want to get into what happened while I was there. But first, I think it's important that I share a little bit about my drinking history because I don't think I've ever gone over that before on the podcast. And I actually have not been drinking since I was around 21 or 22. And so that was one of the reasons why she also said I should come. She was like, well, because I had asked, are they going to be offended or annoyed that like I'm coming to this meeting not being an alcoholic? Like, are they going to think that I'm trying to spy or, like just not keeping the place sacred or, whatever it is. And she was like, no, honestly, like you don't drink, so it's fine. It's not like you're out partying every weekend and then going to this. Like you're sober just like they are. Well, alcohol sober. So I was like, okay, cool. So I went. And so my drinking started honestly very early. I want to say I was 12, however old you are in grade 6, and I started drinking Vexes and other coolers. And growing up in a European household, we obviously had a lot of alcohol everywhere. And it was always something, I guess, that just kind of like interested me. And those were the days of like MySpace and all that kind of stuff. So you would see the older kids drinking and you would see it in movies and shows and, like seeing people on MySpace with like beers in their pictures or doing whatever. And so it was something that I always had found interesting. And so grade 6 comes around, I start drinking, you have like a shot of vodka with Christmas dinner, which is like traditional Polish. And I guess I just found, I don't know if it was like joy or excitement or what in it. And in grade 7 and 8, I was still drinking. I actually got kicked off my grade 8 graduation trip because my friend and I had brought a bottle of wine with us. We, like, as soon as we got there, someone had told on us and they like came, confiscated the bottle. Our parents had to drive overnight to pick us up the next day. They were not happy because it was all the way in Quebec City from Toronto. But yeah, I don't know why. I just started drinking really young and I found it exciting and enticing and like this whole new world. And I thought I was cool because I was drinking and all the things that come along with it. And then lead into high school, again, I was drinking a lot. I was drinking almost every other weekend because I would get caught and then be grounded for a week. So that one weekend I couldn't go out. And the next weekend I would just go drink again and then be grounded again. And like, it was this constant back and forth of like constantly drinking and being grounded and like sneaking out of the house to go drink and then getting caught and being grounded. And around grade 11, that kind of ended. Like my parents realized that I was a responsible kid, even though I was partying underage. So they kind of like lessened the reins a little bit. I was no longer grounded for partying. I didn't have to sneak out. Whenever I needed to, I was actually DD and I would drive instead of drink and, things like that. So it was really the beginning stages of high school that it was a struggle. And grade 7, 8, that was a struggle, like teenager against parent vibe. But I continued drinking, I continued partying. And then one day in university, I think it might have been second or third year, I decided that I wasn't really into the drinking vibe anymore. And I just started smoking a shit ton of weed. And I would smoke weed every day. I became super lethargic. The drinking and the weed together, I was like skipping classes. I didn't fail any classes. I think like the lowest I got was maybe like a low 70 or a high 60, but I still was not going. And I was gaining all of this weight because I was just constantly eating. I was too lazy to cook or go to the grocery store, so I was just ordering pizza. Like it was just like a whole shit show of things. And when I started my weight loss journey, I think it might have been, I'm trying to remember what it actually was, but there was just something where one day I woke up and I was like, yo, I don't like drinking. This shit is not fun. It tastes disgusting. I'm so hungover the next day. I can't move. My stomach is fucked. Like I just was like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. And I just stopped. And it wasn't like a full cold turkey thing. Like I still drank on certain occasions. Like at New Year's I drank, and when I first moved to London, I was drinking a little because I was like exploring the London nightlife and like going out with my friends, and it was like a new city and I was young, and but it wasn't like I was a partier. And actually drinking the alcohol, I would start feeling sick and gagging off of the taste before I'd even get drunk. Like I couldn't even get drunk anymore. My body was just rejecting this substance. And so I basically just made the executive decision that I was no longer going to drink. And then I don't remember when it was. I think it might have been like years later, like 4 or 5 years later, that I quit smoking weed. But I definitely, around that same time, decreased the amount of weed that I was smoking. It increased a little bit during 2018 when, oh no, 2019, during 2019, when I wasn't working and I was just kind of taking a year off life to figure out what I wanted to do. But essentially, I decided to stop drinking in my early 20s, and I have pretty much stuck to that ever since. I honestly don't even remember the last time that I was drunk. The last time I had a drink was, might have been New Year's. I had 2 sips of champagne and like spat it out and gave it to my dad. And then before that was my sister's wedding in July. So again, like I will drink very rarely if it's a special occasion. Like at the wedding, we did a family shot with like 20 people. So I was like, okay, well, obviously I'm going to participate. But again, like I wasn't even drunk at my sister's wedding. I was like getting content and live streaming shit for all the people who couldn't come because it was destination wedding. So I've just known for a very long time that alcohol and I don't align. And it was something that actually was very, I don't want to say difficult, but it was definitely challenging to work through, living in a culture of people who the only way they connect is through drinking. So in university, you go out, you party, you drink. That's how you meet people. That's how you connect. In London, I want to say England in general, but I was living in London. They have the biggest drinking culture. Friday afternoons, you leave work at 3 p.m., you go to the pub, you don't leave until like after midnight. And everyone's just there drinking, smoking. They don't really have outdoor patios because like London doesn't really have patio weather most of the year. So everyone's just on the streets because they don't want to be smoking in, well, they can't be smoking inside, or there's just no tables or chairs inside anymore. And it's just like, you literally walk down central London on a Friday afternoon, evening, and it's just people littered on the streets drinking. And there were actually times when I was working in London, I would go to the pub after work, be social, and I would just order water, and people would be pushing me to get a drink of alcohol, harassing me, like asking me 7 or 8 times if I wanted a drink, like they were going to pay, or am I sure I don't want one? They can get me one that doesn't taste like alcohol, blah, blah, blah. And the amount of times I had to say no and just stand in my worth and be like, yo, like I don't like drinking. I don't want a fucking drink. Like it was hard. And I think there's a lot of people out there who want to stop drinking. They don't like drinking anymore, but because socially it's so normal and it's so accepted and it's so like you're looked as if you're weird if you don't drink, it's really hard for people to make that decision. So that's another reason why I really wanted to make this episode, is to kind of share my story and my experience through it, and like let others know who do want to stop drinking but feel as though they can't, or they've tried and they just keep getting sucked back in, that like you can do it. You just got to ignore the peer pressure, maybe change the circles you're hanging out with, say no to things that you know are going to involve drinking or that people are going to pressure you to drink, and maybe look at the cause of why you feel you have to drink, because this is actually something like a download, a dot connection that came when I was at this Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. So that's my history with drinking. Now to present day, going to this meeting, it actually was like, I don't want to say awkward, but I felt a little uncomfortable because they asked at the beginning of the meeting, is this anyone's first meeting like with this group? No one raised their hand, or I think I raised my hand. Yeah. So it was me that raised my hand, and they were like, okay, welcome. Like obviously they knew that I was new because they all know each other and they didn't know me. And then they asked, is this anyone's first meeting ever? And so I raised my hand because obviously I've never been to an AA meeting before. And as soon as I did that, it was like the energy shifted from, this is our topic meeting of like forgetting about the past, forgetting about the future, and living in the present. Let's now switch it to helping Alexis understand what step one is, and let's tell her all of our stories on how we realized we needed to come to AA, or the story of how we ended up at AA. And the reason why this was uncomfortable was because they were all addressing me, speaking to me as they went around the room, but they were saying things like, basically like encouraging me that like, if I really put my mind to it and my heart to it and I stay consistent, I can be free of alcohol. And so that's why I felt like a little bit uncomfortable. I was like, they're like talking to me with so much love and so much care, and they're so genuine, and I can feel their energy that they really want to help me, when actually like I don't need help because I'm not tempted by the alcohol. So I obviously explained after the fact that I am sober, but I'm not struggling with it, just so that they were all aware. But I just have to say, as soon as the first person opened their mouth and started speaking about their story on what their life was like before AA and like the moment that led them to it, my eyes were watering so hard. I was getting that lump in my throat and the roof of my mouth because I was trying not to cry. I don't know what it was. As soon as he started crying, my body just started filling with like the urge to cry and to let these tears out. And I don't know what it was, if it was because I could feel the energy in the room of every person talking and just sending so much love and acceptance and compassion, or if it was that their stories were really touching my heart. Because even when I watch like people go to AA meetings on TV shows, which obviously those are fake because it's a scripted show, I'm still crying listening to the stories. Like maybe I'm just like, I get touched by people's stories really easily. Like I don't know. But there was about, I want to say 12 people talking, like one at a time, going around. And with every single one, my urge to cry got stronger and stronger. And about halfway through, the tears just started streaming down my face. I couldn't stop them. I kept having to wipe my face. And I literally like, there was no stopping it. It was the most insane experience I've ever experienced in my life. And these people, like, even though we obviously have lived such different lives, there were things in their stories that I was relating to, and things I was connecting back to my own past and history with drinking. And it was so crazy to me because half of them were like, oh yeah, I started drinking when I was 12. I started drinking when I was 13. And I was just thinking in my head, like, holy fuck, so did I. So did I. Like, I could have gone down such a different path. And I think that was also making me cry, realizing like what my life could have been had I not had this just divine intervention moment of being like, I don't want this anymore. Because who knows why that happened? I truly have no idea why that thought came into my brain, why I all of a sudden stopped liking alcohol. I used to be able to drink Captain Morgan's like spiced rum on its own and just like drink the Mickey. And I was like, oh, this tastes so good. And like Fireball tasted amazing to me because I loved cinnamon. And like I'm Polish, I could drink vodka, no problem. Like no reaction, no face after. Like it was like all of a sudden my body was like, no, you're done. None of these appealed to you anymore. And I could barely even take a sip without like gagging. And so as they're talking and they're telling these stories, I'm making all of these connections to my life. And the one connection that I really did want to share has to do with something that I talk a lot about on this podcast, and that is repressing emotions. So as you guys know, or maybe you don't if this is the first episode you're listening to, who knows, I was very, very overweight. I was 214 pounds. I'm only 5'3". I struggled with my weight my whole life. And it wasn't that I was actually overweight my whole life. I was struggling with my body image and like thinking I was overweight. So as honestly, as young as I can remember, I want to say like even when I was 5 or 6 years old, I was already self-conscious of the fact like that I was bigger than some of the other kids. I was athletic body wise. Like I was just a normal size, a normal weight. But then you see those kids growing up that are like super stick thin. So I was comparing myself to them and being like, oh my God, I'm fat. I need to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. And so my whole life I was just doing this yo-yo thing of trying to lose weight, gaining it back, blah, blah, blah. And every time I gained it back, I still wasn't overweight. I was just normal. Like I was average. And then I would lose weight and become like really thin. And so repressing my emotions, I always connected to food because I am a big emotional eater. When I went to university and I had full control over my food for the first time living on my own, that's when I gained like 50 pounds. And I don't know if it was 1 year, 2 years. I can't remember how quick it was. But by third year, I was like, holy shit. And that's when my weight loss journey started. And I always thought it was just the food. Always. And as I was listening to these people, holy shit, I'm crying. As I was listening to these people talk, I was connecting a lot of what they were saying and how they were feeling and the things and the emotions that they went through during their whole journey, and realizing that I had been repressing my emotions from such a young age with alcohol. I'm really sorry, guys, that I'm crying. I'm going to take a break for a second. And when eventually they came around to me to speak, I shared that with them. I honestly, I could barely speak. I was really at that point crying. I had to keep stopping in between what I was saying because I like couldn't speak. The tears were just coming down. And I was able to share with them my history of, you know, I've never struggled with the addiction part of it. When I chose to stop, I was able to, but I started drinking from a really young age. And you guys have made me realize, like through your stories, that I was using it as an emotional crutch to repress all of my emotions. And that is something that I never realized before. And what's super crazy to think about is, this is something I also have never shared on the podcast before, but when I was in grade like 6 and 7, I was really, really struggling with my mental health. I had experimented with cutting my wrists, and you know, like it never went all the way. Like I was using nail scissors and it wasn't even bleeding. It was just making like red scrapes on my arm. But that thought had gone through my mind of like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I had taken like 20 Advils in a row one day because I was just over it. I was over being here. And of course it's Advil, so obviously like nothing's going to happen. And I was fine. And whether or not that was divine intervention, like I don't know. But I had been really struggling with my mental health. And that's also when I started drinking. Sorry, I had to take another break. But like looking back on it now, and after going to that meeting and being able to connect the dots, I can see how the alcohol helped me repress my emotions because it was a way to escape. Like I was literally 12 years old. Like why did I need to be drinking? I was drinking because it was a way to escape and have fun and like forget about everything that was going on in my brain and just like getting drunk and being silly and doing all these things and being able to remove myself from what my reality was. And I'm not saying that in a way that I had a bad childhood. Like, I am the typical suburban kid. I grew up with a loving mom, a loving dad, a full family. Like, we had dinner together every single night. My dad was always home for dinners. I played literally almost every single sport you could think of. I have tried at least once, like for one season. And there was nothing abnormal about my childhood. Like, looking from the outside in, it was like the perfect quote unquote white picket fence life. So it's interesting that, I had these mental struggles, even having the loving and supportive environment that I did. But it's also something that now I'm realizing was a huge part of my repressing emotions. And I think that realization and that connection is deeply powerful to make, because it allows me to see how long this has been going for and how deep this truly is, and how much more healing I probably have to do in that area. And if I look at this on a spiritual level, because I am a starseed, and even now I get feelings of like, I don't want to be here. I want to go home, not in a self-harm way. Like, I truly love my day-to-day life, but just in a way of like, my soul doesn't enjoy being on earth with this heaviness and this density and all of the hate and the greed and everything here. And I have moments of like, I just want to go back to my 5D planet of love and light and not have to deal with the bullshit that's on earth anymore. So I'm wondering now, like looking back, if little Alexis was having those thoughts and those feelings because like my soul is not from here. And because I was so young, I just didn't even realize that that's what was happening. And so I was also using the alcohol as a way to numb and escape from those thoughts. And in university, as soon as I started working out and exercising, that's when I had the feeling of, I don't want to drink anymore. And if you guys have listened to my previous episodes, when I started exercising, that's what really started my spiritual awakening, because I was a really angry person before. I would explode for no reason. People were always walking on eggshells around me. And as I started working out, I realized I was releasing a lot of the emotions that were in my system. And overall, I was becoming a happier, lighter person, not just physically, but mentally. And so if I was using alcohol to repress my emotions and all of a sudden I was able to start releasing them, it makes sense that my brain was just like, no, you're done with this. You don't need this anymore. There's nothing inside that we need this to hide from. I don't know, just a connection that I'm making, I guess. It makes me realize, like, I know our society already has a huge problem with binge drinking. And I wonder if there's a lot of people out there, and maybe you guys, like, this is common knowledge for you already. I don't know, because I literally haven't drank in so long. But maybe there's a lot of people out there who are also drinking to escape, but they don't know what they're trying to escape from. Like, if this is you and you're wanting to go out every weekend and party, is it because during the week you're working or you're at school and you're occupied, and then you come home and you have to cook dinner and go to the gym, or you watch whatever show and you zone out into that, and you're avoiding spending time with yourself and in your own head, and then the weekend comes and it's like, fuck, there's nothing to occupy my time now. I don't want to spend time alone. I don't want to spend time in my own head with my own thoughts. So now I'm just going to go drink and drown it out. I honestly don't really know what this episode is supposed to be about per se, but that experience in that meeting truly has changed my life, and it has given me a new perspective and shown me something in my life that I either was choosing not to see, or I was blocking out, or I was just completely ignoring. And I really want all of you, if you are struggling, whether it be addiction to something or just the feeling of you don't want to drink anymore, or you don't want to, I don't know, eat shitty foods anymore, or whatever it is, and you're struggling to kind of break that habit and to stop, whether it's your own personal mind telling you you want it or you need it, or it's other people pressuring you, to really just take a look at, when this started. When did you realize that you no longer had control over it? Or what inside you are you trying to not feel by having that? Like with emotional eating, I can recognize it now. Whenever I am craving pizza or I'm craving a comfort food that I used to eat, it's because I'm feeling like shit and I'm using it to give myself validation, to give myself support, to feel good, to feel okay. And sometimes I'll still do it. Like sometimes I'll sit there and I'll be like, I'm feeling sad right now. I'm feeling empty. I know that I don't need pizza and I'm craving it because I'm looking for an emotional validation or an emotional fulfillment. But today I'm actually just going to let myself do that and give that to myself. Like I can see the connection to where my cravings are and what they're trying to fulfill within me. So I would really encourage you guys to do that next time you feel like you're craving something or you want something that you're trying to quit, you're trying to not have anymore, and see where it's coming from. And if there's another way that you can give yourself that feeling of nourishment without going to the thing that you're trying to like disconnect from or trying to avoid. And honestly, I don't know if I just got really lucky with the meeting that I went to because we're in Costa Rica and the community here, it's here, but it's nowhere near as big as what it would be, say, if I went to one in Toronto, which would probably be hundreds of people. But it was life changing for me in every way possible. And it was such a therapeutic and cathartic release crying. And the community behind it, whether or not you choose to go to a group like that or you just find like-minded people that understand your struggle and what you're going through and you can talk to and relate to, I think that is so important, not only so that you don't feel like you're alone, but so that you also have someone to bounce ideas off of and to, I don't know, maybe give you new connections or new insights. Like maybe they're seeing some things about you that you're not self-aware of yet. So that is today's episode. Normally I have guests on here to talk about their healing journey and things that they've gone through and experienced. But today it was my own, and I hope that it resonated with you guys and I don't know, maybe gives you some insight about yourself or some of the things that you've gone through. And if you have any questions or just want to chat, feel free to DM me on Instagram at iam.alexischristine. My DMs are always open and I'm always here to be an open ear to just listen. So as always, guys, if you are liking the podcast, if you're enjoying it, if you are learning from it, please give us a review and a rating and share with a friend. I am truly trying to heal and help as many people as possible while I am on this planet, living out my soul's purpose and living in my highest good. So I really appreciate all the love and support that you guys have already given me, and I can't wait to help even more of you as the years go on. The light in me acknowledges the light in each and every one of you, and I hope you have the most wonderful day. Coming from someone just like you.